Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm super excited to start with the journey with you. My name is Julia, aka Artpreneur, and I call myself an artist, a creative mind, artpreneur, and also multipotentialite. So that means that I'm pursuing a couple different passions, and generally that's why I'm creating the channel. I want to tell you about my story. I want to keep sharing my insights, my observations, what happens in my life, and build this community together. So let me tell you a little bit about me. So currently I live in Toronto in Canada, and 1 year ago I opened my first big project, an art school called Artpreneur, and I created a safe space for everyone to express themselves, to reconnect with their inner child. I teach multiple classes. I also create a lot. I participate in different exhibits and markets and shows. So that's a massive part of my life, and it's a journey. It's an exciting journey, right? Especially being a creative person. There might be a lot of doubt. There might be a lot of challenges balancing out the creative side of it and the business side of this. And about all of this, I want to talk with you. Also, there is another part of my life. I'm a front woman of a band called Las Mariposas, so music is another part of my life. I also have a big background in marketing, in branding. There are lots of things that I find interesting. So I'm at the point figuring out how to balance all of them, and I feel like it would be so valuable to share the story with you. And at the same time, I'm making this for myself as well, right? Because once you talk about things, once you summarize them, maybe it's easier to process them. Art has been a part of my life for a while. I think when I was growing up, so I was born in Ukraine, in a town called Zaporozhye. So I was born there and raised there. I was a very creative child. So when I was in school, I was painting a lot, and I would spend days, hours just painting, learning by myself different art techniques and exploring. And then when I was a teenager, music somehow entered my life. There's an interesting story behind, so maybe I'm going to share this in the next vlog. So music entered my life, and on top of painting, I started singing a lot, and I was roaming around the country with different competitions and songs and music, and it was a beautiful experience. And I think all of this, it kind of shaped me as a personality. It really helped me to open up to understand the process of expressing yourself, the process of creation and creativity in general, and it made me really happy. So now when I mentor people, and now when my students wonder like, oh, how do you know what makes you happy? How do you know what you should do? I think one of the key things is to go back to your childhood, to the times when you were a kid or a teenager, and remember things that made you happy. So the answers are always there. So anyway, I was turning 17, I finished school, and there was a time to choose what's next. And somehow I chose international economics. That was very logical. And well, being from the Eastern Europe back then, you were not supposed to choose something really artistic. So I got my first bachelor degree, and that was a good choice. I don't regret about any of the choices, and I think that your path can be from point A to B, or your path can have multiple curves, and each one has the beauty, and each one has a meaning, and you realize this later on, right? So I joined completely different world of economics, of marketing. So after I got that degree, I came to Canada. So 6 years ago, I came here with 2 bags, just by myself, and I studied for 1 year in college. I studied marketing, and it was a beautiful experience. And I think one of my competitive advantages as a creative mind is having this business thinking asset, something that I've learned during my education, because it kind of helps me to run it as a business. It helped me to make money out of this. So someday we will talk about this as well, because I know it can be a struggle for lots of creative people. So I got my second degree here, and then I entered the world of advertising, the corporate life. And it was fine. It was, from the outside, I was completely happy. It was completely successful according to all the social expectations. I was working in a very downtown, in a beautiful office. I had all the social insurance and all those things. But at one point, I felt super unhappy. I felt desperate and unhappy, because I felt that there is a big part of me that needs to be expressed, but I was just simply not doing this, and I had no idea how to change it. I had no idea how else you can live the life. So for a very long period of time, for about like maybe 8-9 years, something about that, art was completely outside of my life. I put music and I put visual arts on the shelf, and it was just waiting for me there till the right moment. And obviously the right moment came, because it always comes when you're ready for this. So yeah, at one point I found myself so desperate, so discouraged, and I started trying out things and thinking, okay, what else can I do? So that's how I came back to music. So in Toronto there are lots of open mics. So I would go to those open mics, I would sing a couple songs, and I would receive an overwhelming feedback in a good way. Everybody was telling me how beautiful that was, how talented I am, and I felt so happy. That was the moment when I finally felt happy. So I decided to organize my first big show. So I planned the whole big event. I rented the venue, I invited musicians, I sold tickets, organized everything, and the event was an absolute success. It was sold out, and I think that day on the stage, I made a decision that I'm quitting my job. It was the first time I made the decision, because moving on with my life, I made the decision a couple more times. But anyway, I made the decision, so I came back to work on Monday, and I actually quit. So I have to give credit to myself, because, well, it was brave, and I think it actually helped me. It pushed me to explore what other options are out there, how else you can build the life. So I made the decision, decided to quit, and I had a plan. My plan was to do shows in Toronto, to make money from the shows, to perform in the corporate events, to have some side hustle as a marketing freelance, because I still had that skill, obviously that asset, and I wanted to be like a local guide and walk tourists around the city. So 2 weeks later, so I gave my 2 weeks notice, and my last Friday at work, it was the Friday when the world split on before and after, and what happened was that the massive lockdown happened, so things were never the same after that. So it's the last day of my work, the last day when I have a job, when I have all the benefits, and I understand that from next week, from next Monday, that's it. It's over. The world enters a completely different stage, extreme uncertainty, and all the plan failed in a 1 second. In a 1 second, I realized that I can't sing, I can sing, but I can't perform, I can't monetize it. There are no shows, no events, there are no tourists in the city. So my whole plan, the whole logistics of my new life was completely broken. And obviously it was discouraging, and it was stressful. So I think what helped is that we all thought that it's going to last for a couple of weeks. So we started testing things out. So for the next half a year, I was super active on social media. I was doing lots of interviews. I was singing, recording songs. Obviously it wasn't like a work. I was just having fun, expressing myself. So from the outside, again, it looked like it was a perfect picture. I was like a full-time musician, enjoying my life. But in the reality, it was scary. It was an absolutely emotional roller coaster, because on top of all the pressure that I put on myself, that society put on you, family put on you, because come on, like, you made an unpopular decision. This thing happened, right? This is something you can't control, but at the same time, it doesn't lower the pressure. So that was an extreme roller coaster. Sometimes I would be super happy, and then there were moments when I was so desperate, concerned, sad, anxious, and scared. So that was the first half a year. And then something happened. I feel like my body was exhausted from this roller coaster. So at one point I woke up and my ears got blocked. It's like as if I was in a plane, so I couldn't really sing. And I got so scared and frustrated, because, come on, the only thing that makes me happy, I can't do it now. So I got super scared again, and that's when I started to realize that we should never attach ourselves completely to things that we are doing, because you are not what you do. You're bigger than that, and there are many ways to express your potential, and music was one of them. So I already unlocked something, right? So I needed to find another way. So with my ears plugged, I was walking by, and I walked into the dollar store, and I saw the canvas that they were selling, little canvas. I got it. I came home, and I want you guys to understand that at that time, I had a very long break from painting. I was completely sure that I have zero skills. I was sure that I can't sketch, I can't paint. So I started completely from scratch. So I remember that night, I Googled the picture, I Googled the painting, and I tried to duplicate it. That was my maximum. And that's how it started. Since that day, I never stopped. So since that day, the visual arts re-entered my life completely and took a very big space. So it was a very transformational experience. So I relearned all the possible art techniques, acrylics, watercolors, painting on glass, clothing, furniture, jewelry, mural art, right? Because with every single medium, I unlocked a different world to myself. And it was beautiful, because it's like you have another channel of expressing yourself. That's why I love art, because you can't get bored. There are so many things you can explore. So that's what I was doing. I was exploring, testing things out, and at one point I found what works for me. I found my style, I found my color palette, my theme, and I started doing shows, a lot of shows and markets, and I felt, again, amazing reaction from the people, from the crowd. People were buying it. So it was like the universe was telling me that, like, hey girl, yeah, the world needs what you're creating. So I started to build up this whole community. I started to build up and sharing my story on Instagram. I'm still doing that. And then at one point, somebody invited me to run a workshop in their store, in a flower shop. So I came and I completely enjoyed the experience. I realized that it's amazing to share. And I feel like at one point it becomes your mission. Once you reach certain level, once you explore certain area of this universe, of this life, you need to share, right? You need to keep this flow going. So I realized that I completely enjoyed it. So from that day, I started running workshops and classes for people of all ages, with or without our background, because I know how it feels to feel stuck. I know how it feels to have zero clue how to express yourself, a fear of like, oh, what if I'm not talented enough? Oh, what if I fail? What if this painting turns out ugly? What if people are not going to approve? So I really went through all those stages myself, and I know how it feels. So that's why now I see one of my missions is to walk everyone with me very gently, step by step through this journey, for them to reconnect with their inner child, to learn how to express themselves, and step by step build up the confidence. So 1 year ago, I opened up my space, as I said at the beginning of the video, my art school. And again, it's a journey. It's been up and down, and now there is another moment of transformations with the space that I'm going to share with you as well. So it's not really about the destination. It's really about the journey and how you navigate through that. Music is still a part of my life. At one point, it came back when the moment was right. I reorganized the band again. Now we are performing. We're doing shows in Toronto. However, now I don't put any pressure on music in terms of money making, you know. It's nice when it happens, but at the same time, I found that when you're a creative human, it's safe and it's smart to locate your eggs in different baskets, you know, to find different ways. Again, there is no right way of doing things. Everybody has to find their own strategy, their own way, because we all are different. The stories are unique, but I feel like what we can do to make ourselves stronger as a community, as friends, as human beings, is sharing. So that's why I started the channel, because I want to share my story. I want to share my experiences. I want to share my worries, my thoughts, my insights, because they come every day. And honestly, sometimes I get too lazy to type them down. So I feel like through talking, it's easier for me to express things. So I hope it's going to be valuable and exciting for both you guys and me. There are many things that I want to talk about in this blog. So obviously about my art journey, about the creation of pieces, about my thinking behind the process, about my daily life and the routine of a multipotentialite, right? Like I want to show you like, hey, today I made this event, next day maybe I'm performing. So I want to show the backstage of things. I want to show the reality of how it is to be a creative human, making a living out of this, living in a big city, still in this materialistic world, pay bills and all those things. At the same time, I'm very passionate about entrepreneurs. I'll be showing you local businesses that I admire, that I like. So I'm going to be interviewing people, and the next video is coming soon. So stay tuned. I'm going to be inviting guests. We're going to be talking about things. We're going to be sharing our experiences and being honest, being vulnerable, because I think that at the end that is something that makes us strong. So that was the first video, that was the first blog. Thank you so much for listening. It means a lot to me. So it's just the beginning of the journey. I don't know how it's going to end. I don't know what's going to happen next. I just feel like I need to be doing this, and that's why I really appreciate your support now. So if you could follow, subscribe to the channel, that would mean a world to me, because especially when you're making that first step and you're maybe a little bit worried, a little bit insecure, having this sense of being supported by your community, by your friends, by your students, by people I don't know, right? It means a lot, and it gives you lots of courage and strength. So I have lots of inspiration, lots of ideas. I'm going to do my best to make them happen, to share my journey, and to make this content valuable for you guys and for myself. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned on the next vlog. Have a nice day.